Oh yeah, and welcome to the super fun, awesome, happy Down Pedal show.
Hello.
I'm Gabor.
Hey, I'm Alex.
Yeah.
We've got a new algorithm today.
Yes, algorithm time.
Yeah, this is on the Eventide. Eventide?
Eventide.
Eventide.
It's Eventide. Hey. On the H9, it's a relatively new algorithm that came out called Sculpt.
Yeah.
So through the magic of technology, I believe there will be something coming up somewhere down here, or somehow, somewhere, that shows you the screen of this lovely device that I'm holding here, to show you everything about the Sculpt. So basically, the Sculpt is a distortion, a dual band distortion slash filter slash envelope filter kind of thing.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. So basically we've got you've got a distortion section, which is digital distortion, but actually sounds kind of cool.
Yeah.
Which is split into two parts in your lower frequencies and your higher frequencies. So you can kind of split the lower frequencies and the higher frequencies and work on them individually, basically. So you've got a separate control for your low frequencies, separate drive gain control for your low frequencies, for your high frequencies. You have a mix control, which is, if it's up now, which is the one I'm moving here, called band mix, which you can set how much of the lower frequencies and how much of the higher frequencies you want, and what kind of ratio, like how they compare to each other.
Yep. Okay.
You have a wet and dry mix, which is this one, where you can go from 100% wet to 100% dry. You have where it kind of gets interesting, you have a crossover section. So with the crossover, you can actually set where the low frequencies end and the high frequencies start.
Yeah. So
you can, it all sounds very technical, but we'll get into it a little bit in a minute.
I think that'll be really cool for things like bass and keyboards and
yeah. So you can set what you want more affected. Do you want the low frequencies more affected, the high frequencies more affected? You have a compressor, which is at the end here, which if you put the little thingy up at 12 o'clock, there's no compression. If you roll it counterclockwise, you add compression, pre-distortion.
Yep. Cool.
If you go clockwise, you add compression post-distortion. So the way it affects it is differently. If you run a compression or any kind of boost in any way of some sort into a distortion, it will drive it more. It's sort of, you hit the front end of the distortion. After it will just work more like a compressor after a distortion.
Yeah, it's more of a limiting type effect afterwards. Yeah.
Then you have another low boost, which cuts the boosts the low frequencies. You can either put it in front or after your drive section as well. You have a button which is a gate, which I should have turned on before, so all that hissing goes away. Oh, no, it's away anyway. And then you have a filter section, which also have... it came back slowly. You have a filter section, which you have part of it is in front of the drives, part of it is after the drives.
Yeah.
And then you have an envelope control. So you can turn it... You can either kind of go into almost like a parked wire situation, or a situation where you accentuate certain frequencies, or you can have it as an envelope filter type thing, so you can have it like an auto wire type thing.
Yeah, I was playing with that earlier as we were setting up, and I got this really cool honky mid-range thing, drive sound, which was kind of... It was all this mid-range sound, but in a really cool way.
Well, let's see if we can recreate that.
Yeah, okay.
Do you remember if it was one of the presets that you played with?
No, I just kind of played with the...
I'll just play with your EQ. Because the other thing, okay, and if you can see it here, you can do it all very visually.
Yeah.
So you actually have EQ curves. So for example, this shows you your... here, hang on, I'll move this around so you can sort of see what I'm talking about. This bit shows you where the low frequencies end and the high frequencies begin. So this is the actual crossover point, right? Yep. And then you can set the mix. So do you want less of your lower frequencies, more of your higher frequencies, or the other way around? And then at the end here you have the drive. So do you want, how much gain do you want to send to those frequencies?
Sure. Yes. Again, bass guitar, you might only want to distort the low end a little bit, just so you keep that fat.
Exactly right. Well, that's a lot of bass players. A lot of times have that issue that as soon as you turn any kind of drive on, distortion on, your low end disappears. Yeah. So with this, you can kind of compensate for that. So we might do some bass later on. You never know.
I'll have to find it.
Okay, let's it'll be somewhere. Let's just find out. Start with a few sounds, and I'll move things around.
Okay. Cool. Okay.
So right now we have it set that the lower frequencies have less drive than the higher frequencies. Now by moving the crossover point so there's more lower frequencies, there's actually less drive. So if you So you can kind of sculpt is kind of a good word. Alex actually accidentally said before, you can really sculpt your sound, and that's what it's called. So then the other thing is on here as well. So you can have so let's go right in the middle. So it's a nice blend of both, and let's crank the distortion a little bit on both. You also now have compression here, so we can now just check out what the compression does. So at the moment it's basically set to 0. There's 0. So this is going now to pre-distortion, which you're basically running a compression into distortion, which almost works as a boost. So
I noticed
it adds more gain.
A little bit more gain, but also lengthen your notes, so it's a bit of sustain.
So now let's go post-distortion.
Sure, okay.
So now, kind of, it's not adding more gain, it just adds the compression side to it. Yeah. So you add sustain to your notes. It feels more that narrow bandwidth too.
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay, now, the EQ section. So here as well, it's all, you can do it either, everything you can do on the other screen, you can do on this screen too. So you can set where your drive is, you can set where your crossover point is, you can set all that stuff on here too, and where your compression is. But you can also do it on this sort of much more visual sort of thing. Yeah. So here we have the EQ, for example. So I think you were playing around with that before, and you kind of put the mids up somewhere here.
I think so, yeah. I think I had less low end too.
Okay.
Like that.
Okay. And then here also you have that's the low boost. So it actually shows you the curve. So you can, by boosting your lows.
Yeah.
So it shows you at what frequency, we're now at 370 hertz, that it rolls off.
Okay.
So you can set it where you want it to roll off. And that's pre-gain stage, right?
Okay.
And then you have this one, which is post-gain distortion, which gives you a low boost as well. And then that's sort of the filter. That's where you want the peak of the filter to go.
Sure, cool, okay.
down here, you have the slider for the envelope part of it. So you can actually, and the cool thing is it actually gives you real time. It shows you how the frequencies move. So by moving up the sensitivity, it now becomes like an envelope filter auto-wire. So it gives you real-time information of what happens, which is kind of cool. And then all of that you can do in here as well. And then the cool thing with any of the H9 stuff is you pretty much have... Oh, and then you have the overall volume here on the side. So that's sort of here. So it was set, what was it? It was about 4 dB or something. I think
so, yeah.
It's 3, 4, doesn't matter. The other thing you have is you have pretty much limitless control over any of the parameters. So we've got an expression pedal hooked up here. I don't know if you can sort of see it. Just a boss pedal that we've got plugged into it. You can pretty much assign any parameter, and you can sort of see it. I don't know if you can kind of see it. At the moment, it's 2 parameters that are moving. But hang on, you do it because you play it.
Sure.
You can assign any parameter to move, right?
Sure.
With the So at the moment, it moves the peak of the filter.
Yep. Okay.
So you can set it to wherever you want it to be. But you can change any of that. You can make it by just pressing this button, basically, and then setting, okay, I want, I don't know, my drives to be 0 there. Or not 0 because then there's no sound, but really low there. And I want no compression. But then on this end, so you push the other button, you want your drives to be full.
Yeah, we do.
And I want all pre-compression, for example. So now with that, all those knobs move whichever way you want them to move. So you can set, but you can set it. I don't know. You can make things go the opposite way. So you can have it. One drive goes up, the other drive goes down. So you can set it in whichever way you want. And then you also have this thing called a hot switch, where you can basically have another whole section of parameters that you can, by clicking one switch, they all instantly change.
Yep. Cool.
And you can either set it so it's an on-off, which you can do on the pedal, or you can do on... I've got it hooked up to my pedal board, which is it's in a loop switcher. You can assign it so it's an on or off, or you can assign it so when you hold it on, like a latch switch, latch or non-latching, basically. Momentary switch. That's the one. Sorry, cool. I was trying to think of that. Momentary switch. So you hit it, and as you hit it, it changes to another parameter. As you let go, it goes back to whatever it was before.
Okay. What if we
Let's have a listen to some sounds.
Yes.
Let's go through some of the presets. Let's go with Butter Churner. That always sounds good. What about a dirt boost?
Love me a bit of dirt boost.
And I think that'll give you some more drive.
Oh yeah, okay.
Yeah, if you like us on Facebook, that's my blues experiments.
Blues experiments.
Dissect.
Ooh.
And it also, I should mention, you've got this thing here on the screen. I'm moving that thing now. That little sort of looks like lightning.
Looks like
well, it's like a little lightning thing here. that does the same thing that the expression pedal part does, but
Yeah.
you can do it with your fingers. And you actually, I forgot to mention, you also have an XY pad. So you can do... and you can assign any parameter to that as well.
Yeah, cool.
And you can in real time with your hand, you can change things.
Or maybe with a friend if you play guitar.
Yeah, or yeah, I guess yeah. No, well, you can do it with one-handed. Then you can also do this other thing where it's you can set it to be what's called a rubber band. So wherever it's set at the moment, you can move it,
Shit.
and as soon as you let it go, it goes back
cool.
to where it was. Or a gyroscope. There's a tilt thing too where it does that.
Fun.
You move it.
That's pretty cool.
So there's tons of stuff you can do.
Nice.
And then the other thing also you can do is with these, the way I've got it hooked up, for example, as well. We're going to do some, I think generally we're going to do some more on the H9 and go through different algorithms.
Yeah.
Because this is the first one, I sort of mentioned a few things. You can go to here where you have more, and there's a thing called pre and post routing. So the way I have it set up at the moment is, because quite often you can only have one effect on at a time, and there's delays, there's reverbs, but there's also modulation, there's stuff which sometimes you may want, let's say pre-drive section, and sometimes you want post-drive section. So the way I have it set up on my loop switcher is it's actually in two separate channels in the loop switcher. One channel which is one loop 4, which is in front of the drives, and loop 7, which is after the drives.
Cool.
So and what you can do is from parameter to parameter, you can set, or from preset to preset, you can set whether you want it to be pre and post. Now that happens through it's stereo in and stereo out, but you can change it from stereo in and stereo out to being left in and left out is one channel, right out, right in, right out is the other channel.
Very
so you can set it, you can move it in the different spots, and that's all through your presets. So different presets can be in different places. Absolutely. And if you have a loop switcher, you can, with one push, it changes kind of order and stuff. Just thought I'd throw that in there. Okay, so let's go. Let's try Fuzzy Pillow.
Ooh. It's like a wiry type thing.
It moves the sensitivity of the envelope filter up.
Ah, cool.
So now it's really sensitive, and then it's less sensitive.
That's cool.
Yeah, and in all honesty, the digital distortion doesn't sound bad actually. It sounds pretty good on here. What about Honky Tonky? Let's try Honky Tonky. Jazzy Box.
Jazzy Box, okay. Nice.
Which adds a bit of dirt because it's pre-distortion.
Very nice.
Land O'Lakes.
It's kind of a big distortion thing.
Let's try just a couple more just to get
Sure.
Meow Wow.
Heck yes.
That's what everyone needs, a meow wow.
Feels like it's like band limited. EQ this one.
Let's have a look.
Oh, the filter. Okay.
You've got the filter going, and you've got you've got post distortion compression on full.
Right.
So that's probably what squishes it, narrows it.
So what if we play with the crossover? Oh, that one.
Give it less drive.
Yeah, take less bottom. Very nice.
Yeah, Mark Knopfler in a box. Let's do a couple more. UFO Shred. I liked that one before.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
It's amazing.
Beautiful. And Wizard's Telly. Come on, you're playing a telly. Wizard's Telly.
How is this a telly?
Oh, not telly. That telly's there, sorry. Well, it's got telly-style pickups on it.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, there you go.
Except the P90. It's called Wizard. Okay, so it's a bit lower distortion. It's the crossover thing.
Crossover thing, so the lower frequencies are more suppressed, the higher frequencies are more pushed.
Cool. Which sort of equates to less distortion to your ear.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool.
Let's just try a little speaker lastly, just for something else.
That's cool sound.
That's it. So that's maybe we should do some bass sounds now too.
Sure.
All right. So we've got bass now. We've got Alice on the bass. Magically through the magic of television, and YouTube. All right. I pulled up a setting called Sculpt da bass.
Da bass.
Da bass.
Oh, yeah.
Sculpt da bass. So let's check it out. So I guess the good thing with this thing is, first of all, you've got a mix.
Yeah, cool.
So you can blend in the dry signal. Mm-hmm. And you can, like you were saying in this case, the low drive is very low. And high drive is more emphasized. So you retain that bottom end.
Yep.
So let's try it now with the thingy-dingy because it adds a bit of low drive. And in case you're wondering what thingy-dingy is the expression pedal. Technical terms, you wouldn't understand that sort of stuff.
Since it's over, I'm going to use a pick.
Funky.
Yeah, that's Sculpt and bass.
That's Sculpt and bass. Hang on, there was another one. Funky bias.
Bias.
Bias. like when you're from Jamaica, where I'm from originally, we say the funky bias.
Obviously.
That hot switch does some interesting stuff.
Oh, yeah? I can't snap very good, so just a disclaimer.
What about Mothership Connect? That sounds kind of bass. Let's make it the mothership.
Let's get sensitive. Funky.
That's pretty funky. Any other ones? Where you reckon? Emboise.
Let's dissect.
Oh, okay, dissect. Let's dissect.
Sounds scientific.
I think we've done that before, didn't we? For everyone here in Australia, it's some chisel. No chisel allowed. The sound is called chisel.
Right.
Rumble down low.
Yeah.
Wow, that's down low.
Super low.
That's yeah. And let's try lastly the wah vulva.
Oh, let's take the mix back so there's a little bit dry in there. Smashing your iPad is very rock and roll.
Well, that's it. So there's it's pretty cool on the bass too.
Yeah, very cool.
So very it really is a sound you can really sculpt your distortion a lot in that, and your drive and your envelope, and generally your tone. Very sculptable, hence the name Sculpt. So that's the Sculpt algorithm on the Eventide H9, and then I think we're going to be doing a few more videos on H9 algorithms. So if you want some algorithms, if you want us to do any, let us know what rhythms you want us to do.
Yeah.
And we'll see what we can do, and go from there.
Very fun.
So yeah, if you like what we do, please make sure to subscribe.
Check out the Facebook page and hit like on there.
That's the one. We've got tons more people subscribe to a YouTube channel than we have likes on Facebook, which is fine. But come on, like our Facebook. We always put stuff on there and stuff.
Yes, stuff and stuff.
So make sure you do that. Cool.
Yeah. On that note, I think it's lunchtime.
Yes. Thanks for watching.
See ya.
Bye.